be careful reading health books. You might die of misprint. Has anybody been confused or feel like there's so much information about nutrition that you don't know where to begin? Has anybody ever had that experience?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, so at least one of us has. And there's a ton of information out there. So it's hard to really filter out the wheat from the chaff, so to speak. Now, we're going to start with fats and cholesterol. Everybody has heard of fats and cholesterol, correct? Did anybody hear at some point that fats were bad and you should get them out of your diet? By a show of hands.
Yes.
And everyone has heard that the idea with cholesterol is to get it as low as possible. Is this true? So there are some myths. There's some truth to that, and there's some myths. And so now let's break this down. If you take nothing else from this presentation, understanding what I'm going to tell you about fats can absolutely help you feel better, live longer, and prevent all the major diseases that are the top killers in the United States. Eliminating fats is most certainly not the answer. It is definitely not the answer. In fact, and I'll show you some statistics later on, in the last 20 years, obesity in the United States has increased tenfold. This also coincides precisely when we started the major advertising campaigns and the major health pushes to get fat out of our diets. Fat is not the problem. It is absolutely not the problem. You need really good fats to feel good. You need really good fats to keep your cholesterol levels healthy. You need good fats to have a strong immune system. You need good fats in you so that your joints don't degenerate and you can have lots of good mobility and stuff like that. We need really good fats. They are not the problem. The massive push towards getting them out of our diet has created so many other problems. So let's keep it really simple. Some fats are good for you. Let's talk about cholesterol for a minute. Does anybody know what cholesterol is? It's a funky little substance. It's like if you ever had a candle and you melt it and the wax drips. It looks like that. It feels like that. It's fatty. And basically, cholesterol is a beautiful thing. It's what helps you make estrogen. It's what helps you make testosterone. It's what helps you make vitamin D when you're in the sun. It's what helps create hormones. It's unbelievable. It affects our men in terms of how they age and their sex drive. It affects women and how they enter into menopause. It affects our overall health and our ability to fight off disease. We totally need cholesterol. Completely need cholesterol. Now, here's the thing. When we have too much of cholesterol, there's a couple of things that happen. This is a blood vessel, right? It looks like a little hose. So, again, the top four the killer diseases in the United States, 2 of them are cardiovascular disease, stroke. So heart attacks and stroke, basically. So what happens more often than not is that people who have heightened levels of cholesterol, although not only, I'm going to make a distinction in a minute, generally speaking, people who have high levels of certain kinds of cholesterol, that waxy substance builds up in the arteries, eventually cutting off the flow of the artery, and that's what happens when we have a stroke. That's what happens when we have a heart attack. Now, having high cholesterol, though, is not the only piece of the puzzle. Has anybody heard of inflammation? Right? Have you ever been working at the house and you're trying to nail something in and you hit your finger and it throbs and you're like, oh. That's inflammation. You ever sprained your ankle and the ankle gets big? That's inflammation. Whenever you have a fever, that's inflammation. Chronic inflammation over time in our bodies, the kind that we don't even recognize, is what causes this more than actual high levels of cholesterol. And the very fats we choose are the ones that determine how much inflammation we have in our bodies. Said in another way, cholesterol is very important. So is moderating the inflammation we have in our bodies. And when we eat too many of the bad fats, we get more inflammation, we get more of this, we start going down the tubes. And the whole fats are bad, get fat out of your diet craze made this worse. So let's look at that a little bit. What's more important than that? It's not the total fat you eat. It's the type of fat. Does anybody remember the Bill Clinton, George Herbert Walker election years back? And George Clinton, he's a good musician. Bill Clinton. Bill Clinton won that election because of one phrase. I mean, there was other reasons, but most historians agree. Does anybody remember what that was? He turned the election around. Here was this guy from Arkansas, came out of nowhere, stole the election. Do you remember what it was? It's the economy, stupid. Remember, he said it's the economy, stupid, and they just focus on that, and everybody got riled up to win the election. So really, it's not the total fat we eat, it's the type of fat we eat. So it's the type. Stupid, but I don't look like this. That's the concept. There's bad fats. That's Jim and Bob fat. They are bad fats. Just look at it. So really, the bad fats that we want to avoid mostly are. Anybody have a guess?
Saturated fats.
Yes. Good. Yeah. Good. Bright people here. So yeah, saturated fats are the key most of the time. Saturated fats come from things like red meat. Now, red meat can be very healthy. Absolutely. It's anything in excess. Whole milk products, poultry skin, egg yolks, these are all really good sources of saturated fats. And don't worry about what saturated means. It has to do with how their chemical structure lines up and how many bonds they have. It just means that these are basically the things that are more associated with inflammation, the buildup of cholesterol, atherosclerosis, cancer, diabetes, etc. Now, there's a couple of exceptions to this. One is my favorite. Has anybody heard of coconut oil? So, you know coconuts, well, you can get oil out of it, and it's actually an amazing tool. If you go to like Indonesia, they use it pretty much in all of their cooking. They have some of the lowest rates of hypercholesterolemia, which means too much cholesterol, low rates of obesity, low rates of diabetes. It's a wonderful tool. If in some places in different parts of Africa, they use it in their cooking and in their hair and on your skin. It's basically a great multi-purpose oil. It boosts your immune system, it boosts your thyroid function, it decreases cholesterol, actually. But in general, saturated fats that we want to avoid as a whole are red meat, whole milk products, things that come from, just poultry skin, egg yolks, stuff like that. And remember, moderation is the